The chronology of it, of how Bubba Ho-Tep came to be, at least from my point of view, started in about the year 2000 when Don Coscarelli called and he says, "Hey, I was having a conversation with your pal Sam Raimi, and I mentioned that I optioned a story from Joe Lansdale about this old Elvis, a guy who's like 70, and that you were kind of wondering whether to go with a 70-year-old, like a Robert Vaughn kind of deal, a guy who could play Elvis, an actual older actor, or get a younger actor to play older." And something to the effect that Sam said, "Well, just get Bruce Campbell, he'll do it." And you went, "Geez, I never thought of that." So then I got the call from Don at that point, and I read the script, and the financing wasn't in place yet. But I said, "Well, congratulations, Don. You know, this is the weirdest script ever written, I think." I mean, the opening sequence, the first line is, I was dreaming of some infected pus on the head of his penis, and then he would burst it by, quote, jacking off. And that's the intro to my character in this movie. So, my first instinct was, where do I sign up, But the funding wasn't together yet. So I said, "Well, Don, when you get it put together, let me know." And then coming up closer to the year 2001, the financing was together. But then I got in this hassle with, whenever you make low-budget movies, it's, do your representative want you to do that movie? And so I had a big fight with my representatives because Don wanted to shoot in January. Well, in traditional Hollywood lore, January, February, March are the classic pilot season, where every actor comes from Iowa and butt crack Kansas to come and be rich and famous for those 3 months, because that's when they're casting for all the TV shows. And they said, you can't do a low-budget movie for no money, during that time of year. I said, "Okay, well, you give me the date. Give me the date that you're going to not hassle me about this." And they thought about it, and they went, "We think April 11th would be good." And I went, "Fine." So I remember calling Don and said, "How about a little more prep time?" It's funny, I had heard of Don Coscarelli because of the Phantasm movies. It came out almost the same time that Evil Dead did. It was a cult film. It was his first time. He got the money independently. So there was a lot in common there, but I'd never worked with him, as is the case in a lot of these situations where someone, you're familiar with him for 20 years, but you never ran across him. So I had a lot of respect for him, and I knew that he could make a movie. And I'd gotten a little tired of working with directors that didn't have as much experience. So I was glad for that. It was nice that Don had some restraint that he was going to use, and that he was going to shoot for the right amount of time. So to me, he wasn't a hack and slash director, which was very important. And then when we got to working, it was great to find out how patient he was, that's the whole key. Some directors are like, "Here's my favorite imitation of a TV director." And cut. That was perfect. It's based on time, it's based on their watch, but this was Don's show. He put this together. He got the script. He adapted the script himself. He optioned the story from Joe Lansdale. He put the financing together. So this was his deal, and I was glad to be a part of it because I felt that he wanted to do something that wasn't just your usual slam it out the door, straight to video, and that type of patience and things can be frustrating for an actor. Where he's not satisfied with something, but then you have to appreciate that over a long period of time. He's the one who has to cut this together, pick the takes, put it together and all this. And I have to say this, we've gotten good reviews for Bubba, but what a lot of people don't forget is when they see an actor give a performance, what they don't really realize is that someone named the director, picked the takes, someone set the shot, namely the director, someone gave the actor the notes, namely the director, someone did take after take until he got it right, namely the director, someone picked that take, edited it in a way that the scene began to work again, or didn't work and he fixed it. So there's a lot of stuff that the director doesn't get credit for. So I give Don the lion's share of the credit for the movie because it's his movie. It's all pieced together, but I think he was smart enough to get people who could help out, and so overall it was a very good experience. And apparently his drinking problem is way better now. It didn't slow us down that much, but lunchtimes were usually, the 2-hour lunch. Other than that, it was fine. The rages, so some of that, the gambling issues, but pretty good overall. The little wheelchair that that Mr. President comes out in near the end of the movie, it was a great gizmo, because if you think of it, when they design these things, you're not allowed to strand people with disabilities. It just would be bad if you're going to the market and your little gizmo, you run out of gas, you can't get up a curb. So these things are great. They're really powerful. The battery is unbelievable. They have a dial-up speed thing, so you can really haul ass. And we were shooting in this little park area that wasn't bad, but it was still pretty bumpy, but this sucker could get going. So in between takes, I'd kick Ossie out of the chair and take it over and go for a spin. And they had these little joystick too. It was hairpin turns, because, you know, again, you don't want to send a disabled person down the stairs because they could make the turn or something. So you could spin in a circle with these little buggers. So that was half the fun. I was like, great, I get to do the scene where I get to finally attack the, you know, Bubba Ho-Tep with my chair, my wheelchair. So Don's instruction in that sequence, he wanted a rebel yell, which is it's a real frightening whoop, which is a referral to the Civil War when the Rebs would attack. These horrible rebel yells because they were drunk off their ass mostly. But in this case, he goes, yeah, he's from the South. This is it. This is the big moment. So let's have the rebel yell. So it was fun to do that. It's fun to do the rebel yell. So with Joe Lansdale, I appreciate the fact that he's not apologetic when he writes something, and he has no problem kind of winging it and kind of coming up with characters that are outrageous and kind of infuriating. I mean, I think it's great to have a sensibility of a writer who does not live in the LA basin. You know, Joe lives in Nacogdoches, Texas, apparently the earliest settlement in all of Texas. And I can just see him out there. You know, you get a certain attitude. When you're not anywhere near Hollywood, you're like, oh yeah? How about this for a story? Yeah, finance that. And you get, you know, you kind of come up with ideas that people would go, whoa, whoa. And that's what I think was attractive to Don Coscarelli, and that's what ultimately was attractive to me, because it wasn't the standard cookie cutter thing. Bubba Ho-Tep may not be for everybody, but it's those people that like it, I think really like it, because they go, wow, you're out there, man. And I think that's okay. It's okay to mix it up a little bit. Not everything has to be end of Act 1, this happens. End of Act 2, this happens. The guy gets the girl, you know. Not everyone has to have a buddy, you know. So, although this movie is kind of like he wound up inadvertently writing grumpy old Ghostbusters. He's kind of a tough guy, you know. He could take either Don or I out, you know, with some of his quick moves. But I think he's a softie. I was telling Don that in the commentary, that, you know, for all of his bravado and wacky characters, I think he likes it when there's a happy ending. He's a sucker. Don's one of the few guys who will take his movie away and go edit it and take as long as he needs to do it. Most films are done on a schedule, which like, bam, 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 bam. We're in 2,300 theaters July 7th. You have to be ready. And so everything's done on a schedule. And I think Don went, no, this movie's independent. It's money that he put together privately. It's none of your damn business where it came from. And I respect that, because it means that he wanted to make the movie so bad that he was able to scrape this money together. Not every filmmaker has the guts or the ability or the tenacity to scrape it together. So I was very impressed with that. I've had a lot of situations where a director will call and go, have I got a script for you, buddy? I got such a part. I'm like, okay, yeah, where is it? Oh, I got to get the money first, but yeah, oh boy, I'll tell you, this is it. This is the one. So with Don, I didn't really know what to expect. He goes, I got this script I'd like to make. And I went, okay, cool. And he actually called back, which was shocking. So I went, hey, I guess he's a real guy. And he had made independent movies before. So I think there was a general sort of cohort feeling about it all. And that was a good experience. All right. I had my own reactions to, you know, cancer on his penis and all this sort of stuff. And I thought, well, who's going to be the nurse who's going to have to do all that? And so with Ella, I'm curious to see what she thought of the script when she first read it. Because, hooray, I get a role. But it's putting grease on Elvis Presley's old cancerous unit. The notion of a sequel is, of course, fun to consider. Because in this particular case, since we're taking a slice out of Elvis's life, it was like a snapshot at a weird time in his life. If you think about it, there's really no reason why you couldn't take a snapshot of another period in his life. And it could be earlier. Like, for example, after he finished Roustabout. What did he do? Did he hang out at Graceland all the time, you know, with his avocado-colored appliances? I don't think so. I think he went off and got into his stuff, or shot guns, or, you know, did karate, or whatever Elvis was into. So I think it would be fun to take the character and let him fight a monster in some other scenario as though you saw a hidden secret moment of their life. And of course, the only way that that's really going to happen is that the people who bought this DVD are going to tell all their friends to buy a DVD, and all the reissues and the new updated re-release of the DVDs, then we'll probably do a sequel.